Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the range with a brand new handgun. This is a first shots video. It's made by Ruger. It's called the Ruger American Pistol. It's their latest offering, which is a polymer frame striker fired handgun. It's a service sized handgun, so it has a full size grip. It holds 18 rounds. Its magazines, which I have one here somewhere, they're nickel Teflon finished magazines. Gives them a very slick finish. The military has been using a similar finish on the M9 magazines to resist malfunctions when you get sand, dirt, crud into the magazine. It has Novak style sights, and these are going to be a 3-dot style arrangement. You can see that really sharp sloping rear sight here. And then of course you have just a standard dovetail front sight. Again, that 3-dot arrangement. Because both of them are dovetailed, you will be able to change out the sights in the future. I personally cannot stand Novak sights. I think they're horrible sights for concealed carry, simply because you have no way to run the pistol down your pants and fully cycle the slide. You wind up snagging it somewhere else, but the sights themselves don't give you a snag point to cycle the gun in one-handed manipulation drills. But they are low profile and they make it nice going into a holster. They have a nice slight taper to the rear end as well, and they're not very sharp, so you can draw it from concealment fairly easily. It is striker fired, but you'll notice that the striker does not protrude from the rear of the slide like it does on the VP9. The grip panels are also replaceable, user replaceable. It comes with 3 grip panels. The one that comes on the gun is a medium-sized grip panel. I've put the larger grip panel on here, and I'll explain why here in a little bit in the future part of the video here. And then it has the Glock dingus on the trigger. So if you push on the side of the trigger, the gun can't fire until you get your finger completely on the trigger. Then you can fire the gun. Gun has a fairly decent trigger. It breaks very cleanly. The downside is the reset is really bad. You pretty much have to let the trigger all the way out to get it to reset. Magazine well is nice and big, easy to get magazines into and out of. And the serrations on the slide are really aggressive. Now you have them here in the rear, but you don't have them up here in the front. Another nice feature of the handgun is the fact that you don't have to pull the trigger to decock it or to release the striker to disassemble the handgun. I wish other handgun companies would do that. Things like Glocks and M&Ps, you have to actually drop the striker before you can disassemble it. And sadly, that winds up in a lot of accidental discharges where people shoot themselves, shoot holes in walls, all sorts of stuff. So Ruger really did a good job there. It does have a loaded chamber indicator here on top of the barrel hood, so you can kind of look down inside there. It doesn't work so well in low light. You won't be able to see anything. It has an external extractor here on the side, and it does have AEM controls. So you have the magazine release on both sides of the handgun as well as a slide stop. Again, on the other side of the handgun, magazine release and slide stop. All right, so that's the basic feature set rundown. Let's do a little bit of shooting with the handgun, give you some thoughts on what I think of the gun so far, and then we'll do a follow-up video down the road after I have a chance to put a lot more ammunition through it and tell you what I think of the gun overall. All right, let's do a little bit of shooting. We're at a challenge steel target downrange. We're going to bang away on that for a little bit using some ZQI ammunition. It's 123 grain NATO spec ball. It's really hot stuff, and most handguns I shoot really do like it. Let's do some shooting. So I'm going to put the first few rounds through the handgun. Now, this is not the first time I fired the handgun. When I first got it in at the shop, we took it out to the indoor range, and several of us shot the handgun. I have about 150 rounds through it so far. So when I say it's a first shots video, I didn't just take it out of the box for the first time this afternoon. I just wanted to point out that starting from the front of the gun and moving to the rear, it's a darn good looking gun. 1913 rail here. Looks really good, looking great. Small triangular magazine release that protrudes. Okay, then we get back here and it's like, ah, what the heck, Ruger? That is one of the ugliest butts I've ever seen on a handgun. It's just like, it looks great all the way back to here. Some might say it looks like a Smith & Wesson M&P, and then all of a sudden it's like right in here. What the heck? Seriously ugly, but it's cosmetic. Thought I'd point it out. I mean, that's what I do, review things, right? That is the ugliest butt I've ever seen on a girl, and I don't know what they were thinking, but it also has a few other issues that I'll point out here in a few minutes. Let's do a little bit of shooting here. The sights work really good on the gun. They're easy to pick up. Hung up a little bit there. I just think that's because I didn't fully cycle the slide. The front sight is a little bit narrow, leaving plenty of light on either side of the rear sight, so it makes it fairly easy to pick up. These are not night sights, they're just white painted dots. The challenge steel target's 7 yards away, and let's just see if we can hit it in the center here. All right, so one thing I've noticed with the handgun, and it's not just me, it's everybody that shoots it, the gun naturally wants to shoot to the left. Now, if I readjust the way the gun sits in my grip, which normally would be like this for me, it's uncomfortable to shoot. You'll notice that this really fat butt on this girl, this right angle, you can kind of see it here. Let me get here so you can kind of focus on it. It's really wide and square cut, not much of a contour, and it whacks the knuckle. So if I shoot it the way I would normally shoot a handgun to shoot straight, like this, it beats the crud out of this knuckle. If I turn it where it doesn't do that, the gun shoots left, but it's a lot more comfortable to shoot. Now here's what we found out. We let 4 people at the gun shop shoot the handgun. I have big hands, other guys have small hands, some guys have some fat fingered hands. Everybody said that they had a problem with this wide rear square cut frame whacking them in the knuckle, and every single one of us shot the gun to the left. To compensate for that, I can easily just move the sights over a little bit, but I just wanted to point that out, that the gun is extremely uncomfortable to shoot for a lot of people right here. If you get 500 rounds into shooting the gun, say in a pistol fighting class, or a fighting pistol class I should say, you're probably going to find that your hand's going to be uncomfortable. This knuckle takes a good beating. All right, a couple of guys have also noticed. Now, notice what just happened there. This gun's really bad about this. Let me show you that again. Fully lock the slide to the rear. The slide stops all the way up. Let me put my round back in the magazine here. Without much effort at all, when I stick the magazine into the gun, just gently tapping it, I didn't do it that time, causes the slide to go home. A lot of guns will do that, but this one is really surprisingly easy to have that happen with. So if you're taking a class or you're practicing fast reloads, just know that every single time you slap that magazine in, it's probably going to go ahead and chamber that round. Some of you might want to press check, make sure you still got a round in the chamber. I haven't had it not chamber a round, but it happens quite a bit. Some folks that have shot it have had a hard time with the slide stop, them riding it with their thumb. For me, it rides far enough forward. My VP9 I really had to struggle with to keep it from not locking open, or to get it to lock open, because my thumb naturally wanted to rest on the slide stop because it was further back. This one's further forward. I don't have that problem. If you have a grip like this where you keep your thumb away from the slide, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. But a couple of guys have said that they can't get the slide to lock open. Recoil on the gun, and those are fairly stout 9mm. It's a little bit brisk. For a full-size, service-sized handgun that's really kind of heavy, this is the heaviest handgun I have in my collection. Well, not say my collection, let's say, of handguns that I've carried in the past. Things like the VP9, the Glock 19, currently carrying the Sphinx SDP. This handgun's heavier than all of them. And so it's a very heavy, service-sized handgun. But even then, it has a pretty sharp recoil impulse. Not unmanageable. I've shot much softer shooting handguns, meaning you can keep that muzzle down and shoot more quickly, but it's not unmanageable. It does have a very low bore axis. You can see how low it sets in my hand. And now let's go over, take the gun apart and talk about these grip panels and why I've chosen to put the larger grip panel on the handgun versus the medium-sized that comes installed on the gun from the factory. Let's take a look inside the box that comes with the Ruger American pistol. It comes in this plastic case. It's a fairly durable case, good quality. You could easily use it as a range box. Inside you'll find the handgun, a lock, user's manual. It'll come with the tool to replace these back straps. Sadly, I broke the tool trying to replace the back strap on this gun, so it's not in the box. It's a number 10 Torx head, so just a standard Torx will work. Have the gun and these 2 back straps. One that comes on the gun is a medium. There's a smaller one and a larger one. Now I went to the larger one because of what I talked about earlier. Let's go ahead and make sure that the weapon's clear here. You have the 2 magazines. Because of this rear ledge, I went with the larger grip, which kind of pushes back. I did find, or do find, that this, it almost looks flared wide rear end of the gun is really uncomfortable for my hand and the 4 other guys that we allowed to shoot the gun. Everybody complained about that. So what I did is to put this larger grip on here. It did a couple of things. First of all, it helped alleviate that problem for me just a little bit. I wouldn't say it's cured it. It's still not a very comfortable handgun for me to shoot. But it also increased the palm swell, which kind of makes the gun point a little bit more naturally for me. So I do like the way the palm swell feels in my large hands. The medium felt okay, with the exception of the hump here. Now, if you go to the small, you're going to really be deep into this large ridge here. And I would imagine, based upon what we've seen so far, a lot of people are going to find this gun slightly uncomfortable to shoot. And then some people won't, right? Some people say that the Glocks are the same way. Some people say they have problems with M&Ps, XDs, whatever. It just seems like this gun is uncomfortable for a larger number of people given the testing that we've done so far. But I'm gonna let other people shoot the handgun. I'll chime in later in another video and let you know how that's going. But I tend to shoot the gun to the left, so I think I will have to adjust the sights. It'd be one of the first factory guns I've ever had to adjust the sights on, because almost all the time, every time I've picked up a new handgun, the gun is shot to point of aim once I learned how to hold the gun. Every gun's a little bit different. Some guns just shoot naturally, which is what drew me to the VP9. That sucker shot straight to the X-ring. Let's disassemble the gun and take a look inside. I'm going to go ahead and make sure again the gun's clear, magazine's out, chamber's empty. Now you do have slide stops on both sides here. I'm going to go ahead and drop the slide. Now here's where Ruger did their homework. You can take the gun apart simply by locking the slide to the rear, rotating the takedown lever, and then just riding the slide right off the receiver. You don't have to pull the trigger. Good move on their part. I think that's a tremendous safety feature. Inside you're going to find fairly long slide rails, unlike the Glock, which has very small slide rails front and rear. This has a larger block of slide rail here and here, and you can see inside the gun what it looks like. Polymer frame, obviously metal trigger components. Looks well made. Ruger typically makes a fairly decent handgun. Inside the slide we have really just a typical Browning action. Take out the captured recoil spring, push up on the barrel hood, and your barrel comes out, and really that's all you have to do to field strip the gun. You can see the striker in here. It's a fairly soft spring on the striker. If I tried to do that with a Glock, it would rip the skin off my finger. But external extractor, it's a nitrided stainless steel slide, so that black finish you see is a nitrite finish, and nitrite tends to be fairly durable. It's a 4.2-inch barrel. So, you know, it's somewhere between service-sized and compact size. Now this says I would classify this as a service-sized handgun. It's fairly large and it's certainly heavy. Hopefully Ruger, if it becomes a popular handgun, will make a compact version. This one holds its 18 rounds. If they made one with 15 rounds, slightly shorter grip, maybe a little bit off the nose there, I would certainly think it'd make a good carry gun. What I may try doing in the future, after I get done formally reviewing the gun, taking a good look at it, I may see what I can do with a little bit of sandpaper and trying to get this right edge off this to make the gun a little bit more comfortable to shoot. Overall, like I said, I think it's actually a good looking gun. The pictures I posted on Instagram, a lot of folks were saying it's ugly as sin. I don't think it's ugly. I think it's absolutely beautiful all the way up until we hit right here, and then yes, this looks unfinished and looks like a half thought. I have no idea what Ruger was thinking there. The sights are adjustable for windage. If you want to adjust elevation, you're going to have to change out the front sight. Whether or not those are available or not right now, I don't know. And I also don't know if there are other sight options available. Fortunately, like I said, they are dovetailed, so you can ultimately at some point get different sights for the handgun. The gun, as you see it here, has an MSRP of $579. which I think is a bit salty for what you're getting, considering there's other pistols on the market that offer the same amount of features, might even come with a holster. Something like the Canik TP9, I think, offers as much as this handgun in terms of features. And also the Canik will come with a holster. This one doesn't. But, you know, I picked this one up for $499 from my local gun shop, Bly Sports in Valparaiso, Indiana. So they're not selling for $579 even though they're brand new. A lot of you guys are asking, are these the same magazines as the SR9? And no, they are not the same magazine. So it has its own proprietary magazine.
That. Is that an indentation right there?
Yep. Well, that's the fifth person. And that actually took skin off. So, yeah, I would say that gun has a problem with mangling people's knuckles, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's even worse for you than me. It's just uncomfortable for me. It's taking skin off you. The Ruger American is in the center. You can see how the sides almost flare out and widen towards the bottom of the grip. This is a Smith & Wesson M&P by my thumb, and over on the other side we have a Glock 19. Notice how there's more of a radius and it's thinner on the other two 9mm handguns. The Ruger American is much more broad, almost seems to widen at the base. It's more square cut, and that is what seems to be whacking people in the knuckles.
No.
Let me see your thumb. Looks like you got an indentation on your thumb too.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit.
It hurts?
A little bit, yeah.
Right there. Now, I'd say you have really small hands compared to ours. You guys know I've been doing a lot of mud tests lately, and we came out to do some more mud testing this afternoon, but here's the problem we ran into. It is cold here. Here we go. No mud. Poor thing. You will go in the mud, Mr. Ruger. Or I may go in the mud. This is the SR9 that I have here in my right hand and the new American in my left hand. The SR9 is much more narrow, feels actually very good in my hand. The only difference is it's a little bit narrow for some folks width-wise, or the American's a little thicker, but up here it does not bite into your knuckles, very comfortable. The SR9 is also a lighter handgun, and I really don't understand what Ruger was thinking when they brought the American to market to compete with the SR9. Now the other bad thing is, if I take the magazine out of the SR9 and take it out of the American, it won't lock into the SR9, and the SR9's magazine won't even fit in the well of the American, so two different magazines. All right, guys, it's time to wrap things up. The first formal range session with the new Ruger American 9mm pistol went off fairly well. The handgun is also available in 45 ACP. They now are currently shipping. They have an MSRP of $579, but you can find them on the street for less than that. $499 is what I have in this one. What I want to say about the gun so far, initial impressions, I'm just kind of blah about it. It really doesn't bring anything special to the market. It's just kind of another striker-fired pistol. It's heavy. It's heavier than most other pistols on the market. The ergonomics, I'm going to go ahead and say, are bad. Just about everybody now that I've let shoot the pistol, including folks out here this afternoon, so counting myself, that's 7 people that have fired it, all have had a problem with the gun biting into their hand. The cameraman actually has a hole in his hand now. It actually ripped the skin. It's just an uncomfortable gun to shoot regardless of what backstrap we put onto it. I think perhaps you might be able to grind that down if you're handy with tools. I don't know if it's hollow in there and you might put a hole in the gun. I don't know, but I may find out. I do own the gun, so I may start working on it with a Dremel tool, and that's a dangerous prospect for me to do. The sights are okay. I don't care for the Novak sights, personal preference. Some of you guys absolutely love them. It does have a 1913 rail. All the features you would expect from a striker-fired handgun. Also, I did not point out that it does not have a manual safety. It's all passive safeties, has internal drop safeties, has the dingus on the trigger, things like that, but you will not find a manual safety on the gun. It also doesn't have a bunch of gaudy markings that you'll normally find on Ruger products. It actually looks pretty good all the way up until you get to right about here. So overall, the gun I don't think is all that competitively priced. I don't think it's all that particularly feature rich, and I think the ergonomics are going to be kind of bad on the handgun. If you're going to buy one, I highly suggest going out and getting it into your hand and trying it first. Don't buy it off the internet because of this reason right here that I'm talking about. I think you might want to try that out first. The functionality of the handgun seems to be pretty solid. We did find that we had a couple of light primer strikes with the gun this afternoon using the NATO spec ZQI ammunition. I've never had a problem with that ammo before, but as you noticed when I broke the handgun down, the striker spring feels kind of weak. I can easily move it back and forth with my finger, something I can't easily do with, say, a pistol like the Glock. So I think perhaps the spring on that striker may be just a little bit weak for heavy primed ammunition. You'll definitely want to shoot commercial ammo. Other than that, the gun, you know, it's out there. It is what it is. I'll continue to shoot it. I'll give a final opinion on the gun after I put a lot more ammunition through it. We've only put about 200 rounds through it today, so a total of about 350 rounds fired so far. The trigger, like I said, is actually pretty decent on the gun. It's not horrible. The reset is really bad. See how it just chambered that round? I talked about that earlier in the video. Put the magazine in, the gun automatically slams home. Let me show you real quick what the trigger reset looks like. Bang. Now watch my trigger finger. It'll reset right there, and that's full release. So it's just a fraction of an inch off full release for reset. So there you have it, guys. Initial impressions. I think the gun's just okay. I don't think it's anything exceptional. It just loaded itself again. If you guys have any questions about anything you've seen in this video, you can ask those questions on our Facebook page. I'll put a link down below. If you'd like to support the Military Arms channel, you can do that by shopping at Copper Custom. You can pick up one of these cool Mac patches for $3.99. I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. Also, if you haven't already, please check out Full30. That's full30.com. We've taken all the web's best firearms content creators and brought them under that single roof, which is full30.com. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you guys soon.